Lies ahead. Mark Stone, Sky News in Pennsylvania.
Well, just over 24 hours on, it's a very different situation to that Democrats had hoped for when they dreamed perhaps of a landslide and taking unlikely states like Texas. Well, in Joe Biden's adopted home state of Delaware, which of course he won, we found people down, but
instead found unsuspended animation. The former vice president's stage is still set, but the party they hoped would play out here never materialized, and Democrats are wondering what election night has told them. But here,
and regulations, the rulings initially take place in those courts. Why does the Supreme Court ultimately get involved in something, as you described, like
can make rules governing the conduct of, and in this case, it was the state Supreme Court that made the rules, and therefore does give the ability to 9 judges on the court, so they may well, or the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania's, depending
on it is 2,000 this legal actions now surrounding any election and not just general elections.
It's the norm if the election is close, that one side or the other is going to suit. It's not.
Florida turned out for Donald Trump.
like your financial info. That's why Norton 360 includes a VPN for online privacy.
Não tá querendo ficar com ele, então eu vou deixar ele com meu irmão.
Ações continua porque essa é uma forma de pressionar eles. Porque chega aqui, você vê a situação que eles estão organizando, arrumando, para poder um dia ir para casa. Já conseguimos já a lavanderia, que a gente vai mudar lá para baixo, mas no momento, por enquanto, tá ficando aqui. E vai ter as reintegração, sim. Dos outros prédios já tem 2 com reintegração, mas essa é a forma que a gente achou de moradia de pressionar os órgãos públicos, ocupando.
Edilson, só vou dar a instrução pro pessoal aqui, porque a gente vai abrir lá. Para ocupar, a gente vai ocupar. Cadê? Tá com a chave aí? Fica a chave lá, responsa aí. Certo? Aê, caramba! Moleque! Eu sabia, irmão. Falei, André, corre, que vai dar alguma coisa errada. Vou chamar agora.
And claimed victory in all-important Pence editorial talk from a man whose path is starting to narrow. Joe Biden is now the projected winner in Wisconsin, a Rust Belt duel both men need. The president wants a recount.
In the last presidential, we did a recount, and what we saw there was very few, if any, ineligible ballots that were identified in the recount.
It's there for a reason, so any candidate should be able to do that. At this point in time, I think you know, he's really trying to hold on to every last string. This recount is going to give him a victory, but you know, nobody's going to really know until it's over.
After a sluggish start, it was here in Arizona where the map started to look a little more friendly to Joe Biden. A once ruby red state, a new political future painted by a young Latino population. But last night didn't deliver some reversal of the national political narrative. It was a fittingly messy scramble for a horribly divided country. Team Trump now launching legal action in closely fought America's future at stake now, but its democratic reputation.
Here's another indisputable take-home. Donald Trump increased his vote share, getting at least 3 million more people to vote for him than in 2016. A vast number of Americans looked at what he had to offer over the past 4 years and signed up for 4 more. Surely no one can now see his political rise as an historical aberration.
Win or lose, Mr. Trump will emerge more powerful than ever inside the Republican Party, defying expectations for himself and helping others to surprise victories.
Thank you.
Joe Biden's prospects are far more complex. Even if he were to make it to the White House, he likely won't get the Senate of ugly gridlock. Cordelia Lynch, Sky News, Washington.
Well, the route to the White House is there for Joe Biden tonight if he can get the votes counted. My colleague Ed Conway is looking at where they could be.
Let's have a look at what it would take for either of these two men to make it into the White House. Clearly, for Joe Biden, it's looking like a more straightforward path with 253 Electoral College votes. All he needs is to potentially, I should say all he needs, it's by no means easy, is to win him over the line pretty clearly. But as I say, that's not straight, not straight. Let's consider Pennsylvania, traditionally very much Democratic. So you can see they voted for him, but it flipped to Donald Trump in 2016, and it's mainly this vote that Donald Trump really won with. Then in a county, and we're kind of digging into beneath the state lines, looking at county level data. In a county like Lackawanna, that's Scranton, though, Joe Biden has managed to get up a bit compared with last time around. He is winning in Lackawanna, but here's the thing: he's not doing the same in some. This is Columbia, a rural part of the state of Pennsylvania, and that's rather interesting because it suggests that there are some parts where his vote is holding up. But it's not all just about Pennsylvania. We've been to 270. Clear that off and consider how he could potentially get into the White House.
Team back in London, Joe Biden has cut a win. They didn't really put any planning in so much.
Okay, not just Georgia. Georgia, what, 16 votes? Yeah.
Yeah. So that would, if he were to win Georgia, it would take him to 2. Arizona is very tight. We're expecting another set of data results coming out of there in the coming hours. I mean, just quickly, they're hoping to make progress there.
So I'm ticking them off as we go. Alaska is concerned. North Carolina?
North Carolina, I think, will probably, if guessing is the right thing to do at this stage, looking as it will go Donald Trump's way. But again, a sort of a similar story in terms of that blue wave and Joe Biden narrowing the gap there.
Okay. In addition to that, Nevada?
Nevada will probably go Joe Biden.
Nevada, because it's seen as a purple state, i.e. a swing state. But I mean, apart from last time, it was more or less staunchly Democrat, wasn't it? It was an easy, I remember.
If you were voting and your voting decision was predicated on the economy or on the coronavirus pandemic, then you might decide that Donald Trump is...
Yeah, indeed so. And finally, of course, the one that is going to be perhaps most staunchly contested, or maybe not, depending on what happens with the other states, is Pennsylvania.
Well, this is it. I mean, Joe Biden, it will be key. 20 electoral votes there. I mean, alone would push him over the 270, but it is contested. Donald Trump has his lawyers in Pennsylvania, and it is edging in one direction. It's edging towards a Joe Biden 9, and Georgia.
I think he has to win everything that's outstanding in order to get that road to declare. Is just hearing there from Ali is Pennsylvania. Election were made clear by his choice. But as they start to count those posts,
8% counted. The Trump lead is now down to about 10 votes. At one point, it was over 600,000 votes. So it's been narrowing. So it's now within 3 percentage points. So it's getting a lot closer.
Yeah, we sent Mark Stone to bring us the very latest.
They are still counting inside the Pennsylvania convention third day. Hundreds of thousands of ballots to get through, including those legitimately casting good time by post, yet illegitimate according to the president, who sent his son and his lawyers to town. They arrived down the on a mass scale.
Not a single Republican has been able to look at any one of these mail ballots. They could be from Mars as far as we're concerned. Or Biden could have voted 50 times, as far as we know, or 5,000 times.
But this is rampant corruption, and it can't happen. It simply can't happen. It's not fair. This isn't... democracy.
Mr. Giuliano, Mark Stone from Sky News. They took no questions and have provided no evidence. Just briefly, you've talked about a fraud, but where is your evidence?
Well, it's all going to be submitted in court.
Back in front, you'll be done, finished.
We'll be done as soon as we're done.
But they are at the coalface of the counts, and they aren't hiding their contempt. Al Schmidt is around at 4 a.m. in the morning.
Voters. He's now country.
This state was Donald Trump's biggest prize 4 years ago. He has tried to claim it again. The courts will decide if he has a case in Pennsylvania.
Well, it is a very different situation to that Democrats hoped for when they dreamed of that landslide. And taking unlikely states like Texas in Joe Biden won, we found people down but not despondent. Here's our US correspondent, Greg Myers.
Thought it would wake up to news it had sent its first ever president to the White House. The former vice president's stage is set, but the party they hoped would play out here never materialized. And Democrats are wondering what election night has told them. No landslide, but here they still have faith in Joe.
I was absolutely hoping for a landslide and for a repudiation of Trump and what he stands for. And it was very disappointing that to know that approximately half the people in the country aren't willing to push back against what the kind of leader he is and the kind of things he stands for.
You'll have faith in Joe Biden, though?
I do.
I'm very optimistic. I think we have to be at this point. It's quite sad, actually.
I'm worried that they were never received. Even said that they were mailed in when we dropped them off in person on Election Day.
I have to point out, do you think that's really necessary?
I think safety should always be, a concern or necessity. I don't think that anything bad might happen tonight, but you never know. With everything rising, all the tensions rising here in the U.S. tonight, especially here in Arizona, California, West Coast states, I think that the safety is an essential. You never know. We have Antifa going around out here. We have all kinds of organizations out there that you never know. At any moment, something could happen. So.
Lots and lots of people have said to us while we've been here that they are worried about exactly that
Right.
things will be more violent. Is that a concern that you have too?
I'm concerned, but I'm not worried about it. I mean, as you can see, I'm always ready and I'm always safe. I'm not concerned about it in a sense. Some people out there actually think that we do need some kind of a civil war, some kind of. That's exactly what's going on. When you try to take the voice away from the people fight back. So I'm not worried about it because I do know that a lot of patriots will rise up and that we will take back what we believe should be ours.
So you really seriously think that people will rise up against a legitimate democratic system?
I think so. That's what we're already starting to do with tonight. And this isn't necessarily just about who's winning, the election, Trump or Biden. It's about every voice matters. If you're registered to vote and you did vote, then your vote should count.
But this is America.
Right.
You guys have a robust democratic system. So,
Right.
Right. You don't think so this time?
I don't think so, to be honest with you. I mean, there's been a lot of issues in the past, and with everything that we have seen so far on other, you've had ballots being dropped off at sketchy, like not approved polling places or drop boxes. We've had, at my house personally, we've had 3 mail-in ballots received at my house that came in wet. With a wet ballot, they also scrap those. They get rid of those. So, and then again with the Sharpie issue, we talked to a state legislator today who told us that with those ballots, that with the Sharpie not approved and it should never be approved. So.
Look, thank you so much for talking to us, sir. Really appreciate your time. Thank you. Look, tensions. There's no two ways about that. As I said, the polls, the data here is really too close to call. This is a razor-tight race here in Arizona at the moment, and it could very well be the state. Absolutely all to play for here.
Yeah. Helen, I've never found you so scary. I needed to wear a bulletproof vest, but maybe I'll think about that again in the future. It's good to talk to you this morning. Thanks very much. Thank you. I can see.
Former governor of Pennsylvania and Democrat Ed Rendell. Hello to you. Thank you for joining us on the.
Gratified that Vice President Biden appears to have survived, and we'll get at least 270 votes, no matter what happens in Pennsylvania. Terrible.
What went wrong?
What went wrong? I think it made Donald Trump's hold on his voters. They came out incredible numbers, record numbers. And it was just fortunate that we were able to piece together enough states to win back the Electoral College. Of course, I think Vice President Biden's going to wind up winning by 5 or 6 million in the popular vote. But the Electoral College is what, of course, decides our elections. And it's fortunate that
Sorry, Ed, I was just going to say the early exit polls were suggesting that the major issue for the people of America was the economy, whereas your man was very much campaigning about coronavirus.
I think but he kept trying to live hands and butts about it.
That's not really helping people in your state and potentially people in Arizona, Georgia. Other states around the country as well, when they are struggling to feed their families. And We've seen record levels of unemployment, particularly in the hospitality and tourism industries, haven't we?
Well, we have, but one of the big failings of President Trump is that he didn't get parties down to do a second stimulus bill. Which would have helped those people who've lost their jobs. And the Democrats passed it. Representatives 5 months ago, but the Republicans stonewalled it in a and the president did nothing to get it passed for the American people.
When do you think we might expect a result? First of all, in Pennsylvania.
Probably by Friday morning.
Okay. Do you think the race will already be won?
I think if Arizona and Nevada hold, and I think we'll have the final results from those two states tomorrow. It'll be $270 for Joe Biden, and he'll be the winner, regardless of what happens in Pennsylvania.
There's been quite a few legal challenges already in Pennsylvania. I wondered if you could explain that to our viewers in a little bit more detail. You call them mail-in ballots. We call them postal ballots. There have been some legal challenges in that regard already, haven't there?
And I think they will continue to be beaten back, the challenges, because they really lack evidence.
There, Joe Biden himself going around those swing states with an extra 500 ballots in his pocket.
Of evidence of any of that stuff. It's all BS, or whatever you guys say, the equivalent of BS.
And fair and up scrutiny. What do you have in place to make sure that happens?
Well, both sides have a battery of lawyers, but there are people who believe in the democratic system and they take it very seriously, and they that our elections run fairly and appropriately.
What do you think about the tone of the way that the election was run? Tenacious on occasions, wasn't he? He did talk about.
If you looked at Donald Trump's conduct during the very
So you'd have done the same, would you?
I would have done a lot worse.
Okay. We cannot condone that sort of violence on Sky News. I'm just going to put that out there. But what I do want to know from you, Mr.
Wait a second. I've watched that show in the U.S., and I've seen stuff a whole lot worse than anything that's threatened in the debates.
Okay. As a former governor, what would you like to see from a President Biden?
I'd like to see him take really control and have a nationwide effort to combat the virus. I believe, as I said, nothing's going to happen to our economy unless we can take care of the virus itself. And I think we need a national effort. We need all hands on deck. We need everyone to wear masks. Everyone in America should wear masks. So I think Joe Biden can provide the nation back on track.
How does he unite the nation, though? You know, it does seem to be, as an outsider, very much a divided nation at the moment, if I might be so bold. And then you have the extreme left and also the extreme right. We're just hearing one of my colleagues in Arizona speak jacket on and saying that he was prepared for violence.
Well, you've got to ignore the extremes. Most Americans want the system to work. They want both sides to cooperate. They want aspirations, and our progressive wing of our party is very good, but they also want to reach out and get things done. And Joe Biden has had a history in the Senate of getting things done, reaching out to the other side. I mean, his friendship with John McCain was legendary, and his friendship with other Republicans has been very effective. I think he's the one person who can bring the government together and get it to work and focus on its problems. Right now, Joe Biden is a good man, and America needs a lot of goodness.
Do you think will go quietly, if indeed he does lose?
There's about as much chance that.
Okay, so we're building behind me over the next few days.
Lawsuits. Frivolous lawsuits that are doing nothing but trying to continue to divide the country. You know, when Al Gore had the Supreme Court, told Al Gore to the Supreme Court, he stood up and made a gracious concession speech. We need someone to act like Al Gore did in the face of what to him must have been a horribly disappointing moment.
That was back in 2000, of course, although he did win the popular vote by about half. Was it about 500 votes, something like that?
No, 662, I think.
Okay, there you go.
Is that right?
Yes. How many did he lose the state by? Do you remember, Governor?
I think it was about 600 votes, but that's only because we stopped counting. The Supreme Court told us we couldn't count all the votes, which was a terrible decision. But
yeah, go on.
No, it was a terrible decision, which made no sense, because the states, under our Constitution, the states have the right to set the rules for their own election, presidential elections for president. Each state has the right to have its own rules. That's why Nebraska votes and Maine splits its electoral votes. No other states do that because they have the right to run their own election under our Constitution.
Okay, so your prediction, Mr. Former Governor, is that we will see a president, if he does lose, very reluctant to prise his fingers away from the door jamb of the White House, and there'll be quite a few lawsuits. But in the end, we will see a new president sworn in at Capitol Hill on the 20th of January next year.
And President Trump, you can be sure he will not go into the good night.
Okay, it's good to talk to you. Thanks very much indeed. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thank you. 537 apparently in Florida. I'm being told by Harry, the producer. He's always on it.
Yep, he's right. I'm wrong. Only by a few.
Exactly.
I'll demand a recount.
Okay. The counts and tallies and potentially the courts may be uncomfortable for Joe Biden, but it's also legal. As we are seeing, the result is so close in some states that the campaigns will file lawsuits contesting the result. There have already been hundreds filed just challenging the counting deadlines. Some states initiate an automatic recount if the margin is considered too close, but candidates can also request a recount, as the Trump campaign have in Wisconsin. Every advantageous to the president. He's actually appointed 3 during his
Don't mind them. Papa encouraged her not to mind them.
Bye.